Oh yeah! Hey everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again, and now it's time for my second year-end list that I have planned for the end of the year 2023. This video, it's going to be my top 50 albums of 2023. Again, I apologize that both this and my favorite songs are coming a little late, because I was feeling sick and I've needed to focus on my health, but now I'm feeling better, and I'm very excited to share with y'all my favorite albums because 2023 has been truly a very impressive year for music, and narrowing it down definitely was a huge challenge this year, probably even more so than it was the last couple of years, but I finally made it happen, and yeah, I'm ready to go through this list. So without further ado, let's get to my top 50. Number 50, Arlo Parks, My Soft Machine. 49, the self-titled debut from KAYTRAMINE. 48, Knuckle puts out one of the best pop-punk albums of the year, Losing What We Love. 47, Indigo to Souza's best batch of songs so far, All of This Will End. 46, a fantastic Americana singer-songwriter debut from Jobi Riccio, Whiplash. 45, Kesha with her most experimental project thus far, Gag Order. 44, George Clanton's Ooh Rap Aya, a lot of great trippy cuts on that LP. 43, the triumphant return of Young Fathers, Heavy Heavy. 42, the very emotional new Foo Fighters album, But Here We Are. 41, King Krule with Space Heavy. And then rounding out the 40s, Colin Stetson with his beautiful instrumental project, When We Were That, What Wept for the Sea. 39, a series of very thoughtful and well-written bops from Claud on Supermodels. 38, Anjimile's The King, one of the most powerful folk records of the year. 37, Lonnie Holley, Oh Me Oh My. 36, The National with their second record this year, Laugh Track. 35, the collab album from Earl Sweatshirt and The Alchemist, VOIR. 34, the creatively produced hip-hop album from Armand Hammer, We Buy Diabetic Test Strips. 33, Jason Isbell and the 400 Units, Weathervanes. 32, Squid with one of the most out there rock records this year, Oh Monolith. 31, the excellent self-titled album from country singer-songwriter Zach Bryan. And then rounding out the 30s, Reverend Christian Michael Hayter with Saved, truly one of the most unsettling listening experiences of the year there. 29, Shame matures very well on Food for Worms. 28, King Gizzard goes metal once again on Petro Draconic Apocalypse. 27, the fun and hard-hitting debut album from Paris, Texas, Mid-Air. And then rounding out the bottom half at 26, it is Audra Monet's When the Poems Do What They Do, a fantastic jazz poetry record. Top half of the list, 25, Algiers with Shook. Truly the band's most eclectic and ambitious material thus far. This record definitely took its time to really reveal itself to me, but it was definitely worth it, as it's a great record and definitely a step up on all fronts from their last album. 24, Brian Dunn, Loser on the Ropes. Really great singer-songwriter album with a strong heartland rock flavor. Great songwriting, production, performances, and hooks across this album. Definitely one of the more underrated albums I'm talking about here. Yeah, you all should give this record more love. 23, it is Paranol with After the Magic. Definitely one of the best shoegaze albums I've heard this year. Very grand, gorgeous, and layered. Definitely a magical experience, and one of the better underground rock records that the year has provided. 22, Jessie Ware returns with a great set of disco-flavored bops on That Feels Good. Killer production, personality comes through strong with the vocals and the songwriting. Hooks are really strong, obviously. This record pretty much continues in that sort of old school dance pop sort of vein, and yeah, she's kind of getting better, a little better at it too, so there you go. This record rules. 21, JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown with Scaring the Hoes. There's really nothing I could say about this album that hasn't already been said by other people, but just awesome beats. Peggy and Danny like really bring out the best in one another on this record in terms of their performances. This thing is in your face, it's fun, it's somewhat irreverent, like yeah, it's just a collection of a very creative and just really great bangers. 20, rounding out that range of the list, we have Eve's Tumor, Praise the Lord Who Choose. I'm not going to say that whole album name, but definitely my favorite project that Sean Bowie has put out so far. Cool culmination of a lot of the artistic paths he's been going down lately, and just a very concise record with really great songwriting and production. Yeah, this record definitely, I've appreciated Eve's Tumor in the past, but yeah, they made a fantastic record this time around. 19, Genesis Owuzu with Struggler, kind of similar territory. The combination of genres is something only he could pull off. And it's darker, bolder, and a little more in your face than his debut, and I think he might have bested his debut a bit on this album. Yeah, this thing rules, and I'm very excited to see Genesis continue to capitalize on his potential as an artist. 18, Danny Brown shows up again with Quaranta. This record was a bit of an interesting change of pace for Danny, very dark, emotional, and mature, but he's still killing it with his rap performances. Writing is still witty, production is still very cool, and adds to the whole vibe very well. Yeah, Danny is 2 for 2 with the 2 albums he's been involved in this year. 17, it is the wonderful debut album from Cara Jackson, Why Does the Earth Give Us People to Love? I mean, just impeccable poetic lyrics throughout this album. Some of the best I've heard all year. The instrumentation is very beautiful and ornate, and yeah, it just really adds to how cinematic these songs feel in the best way. Cara's voice also just caught my attention right out of the gate, and yeah, revisiting it this summer definitely was enough for me to realize, like, holy shit, this is like easily at the top when it comes to some of the best indie folk and Americana albums of the year. 16, Jeff Rosenstock with Hell Mode. This record is pretty much peak Jeff. He's really bringing the anthems on this album. Some of the sharpest, punchiest production and songs of his career land on here. Where he's trying out a handful of new things on this record too, like an acoustic ballad, and that goes over really well. And yeah, it's just a really strong rock record. 15, we have one of 2 new records released by Skrillex this year, Quest for Fire, and wow, like, to see the man who popularized that, like, dubstep kind of aesthetic in the early 2010s is back and came out with a record that genuinely has some very intricate and nuanced production, grooves, and even breakdowns. And also just hits genuinely hard as well. I love the flow of the album, too. The features, I think, are really cool as well. Well, yeah, this is my favorite electronic album of the year. So yeah, it definitely has plenty of fire on it. It rules. Number 14, it is the new Sampha album, Lahai. It has been 6 years since Sampha put out his amazing debut album, Process. But I think this new album might be even better. I mean, for one, it's definitely more experimental and expansive sonically. Uh, he's like taking a lot of risks on here with this album, and I'm all for it because his songwriting and vocals sound better than ever. He's matured in just such an amazing way, and yeah, he definitely beat the sophomore slump with this one. 13, it is Lydia Loveless with Nothing's Gonna Stand in My Way Again. I think she did it. Made her best album so far. Some of the punchiest and most to the point songs of her career. Vocal performances are really strong. Writing is really solid. Sonically, she's really embracing more of her indie pop rock sensibilities on here. And yeah, it's just a killer record. Lydia definitely deserves a little more love because this is hands down one of the best country rock albums I've heard this year. Number 12, it's one of the most theatrical and triumphant rock records I've heard this year. Creeper with Sanguivore. They're really diving into a darker, heavier mystique on this record, and I just think they fit right in because the hooks and the melodies sound about as larger than life as ever, and yeah, every year needs that little bit of kind of ridiculous, campy rock music kind of fix, and yeah, Creeper gave me exactly what I wanted on that front. This record kicks ass. And at number 11, as we get closer to my top 10, it is Geese, 3D Country. Wow. This is easily one of the most fun, exciting, and forward-thinking rock records I've heard in the indie field this year. Shout out to them. They're definitely definitely a breath of fresh air for this whole scene right now. I mean, like with Cara Jackson, vocals just caught my attention right out of the gate and pretty much kept my attention the whole way through this record. And so did a lot of the sonic ideas coming together, and with the whole mystique and concept, this record manages to be like all over the place and cohesive at the same time. And yeah, it rocks. But we're there, ladies and gentlemen. My top 10 albums of 2023. Number 10, I think is going to go to ML Buck for the album Suntub. This is a bit of an early November music discovery for me, but I'm definitely very happy to have stumbled upon it because this is easily one of the most gorgeous and immersive albums that I've experienced this year. This record just uses texture in such a compelling way, whether it's through synths or a distinctive 7-string guitar sound. Yeah, this is definitely probably the most just like overlooked album in my top 10. And yeah, I think it deserves more love for sure because yeah, I'm in love. Number 9, it is Billy Woods teaming up with Kenny Siegel again on the album Maps. I've been a Billy Woods fan for I'd say like 4 or 5 years by now. But yet, I think this might be my favorite album of his so far. I mean, this is the first time that this whole album I've pretty much hung on to and understood every word that came out of Billy's mouth. Kenny's colorful production, I think, is a great backdrop for it as well. Amazing features that really add a lot to the album and its general concept. Yeah, I think this record, the fact that it manages to be like the most to-the-point album he's done thus far and still like be very interesting and have a lot of great things to discover with every listen, like that's a feat right there. And Billy Woods just peaked once again here. Number 8, it is the wonderful new album from Suan Stevens, Javelin. There's really nothing about this album that I could say that hasn't already been said by other people. Just what a great culmination of one of the most beloved singers and songwriters in the indie field. Love how he kind of combines the more stripped back heartbreaking folk stuff with more kind of the experimental electronic sounds that he's kind of been indulging in like as of like the early 2010s. And yeah, just with the songwriting, the vocal arrangements, and the instrumentation, yeah, this thing is genuinely beautiful, devastating, and cathartic. And yeah, I love it so much. Number 7, I think, is easily my favorite hip-hop album of the year, and that is McKinley Dixon with Beloved Paradise Jazz. I was a pretty big fan of McKinley's last record, but yet I think this new album is even better. I think it's definitely shorter and more concise than that last record, but also I feel more emotionally potent, instrumentally dense and nuanced, and mature, and like McKinley is just bringing so much personality with his rap performances and the writing. This record manages to be like very dark and brooding, but also have kind of a bit of a playful side to it that I think is really refreshing. So while it definitely is very serious on how it kind of reflects on life as a black man, but it also like definitely feels very hopeful. So if you're looking for an album that definitely is very candid with its writing, but doesn't feel just so dour, yeah, I think this is the record for you. It's special, and McKinley just he outdid himself on all fronts this time around. Number 6 is probably my favorite indie rock album of the year, and that is Wednesday with Rat Saw God. Like, I mean, the songwriting, you're not going to find a record in the indie rock field, at least, that reflects on life in the South with as much detail, candor, and charisma as this record does. And yeah, I just love the way that the band fuses like overwhelming walls of shoegaze distortion with kind of those twangy country rock aesthetics of Drive-By Truckers. And yeah, they are just incredibly original with their approach to this style. And yeah, this record only got better for me as the year went on, because yeah, it rocks, but it's also just very thoughtful and oddly kind of touching at points too. So yeah, all hail Wednesday. But number 5 is probably my favorite rock record, just in general, like, and it's kind of interesting I say that because this album happens to be a comeback record, but it's The Hives with The Death of Randy Fitzsimmons. Like, this is a record that I just had to put higher on my list because this is really the rock record that, like, more than any other this year, just made me feel excited, like, every time I went to listen to either the whole thing or just a song or two from it. Like, comebacks are not supposed to kick this much ass, but that's pretty much what the Hives did. Like, the sound of this record carries so much heft, it's filthy, really, and like, with the songwriting and the vocal performances, so much personality and charm coming out of this album. Very anthemic and in your face, like catchy and a little bit like odd at points in the right way. Yeah, like the Hives genuinely put out a banging rock album this time around. Number 4, it is the newest Mitski record, The Land is Inhospitable, and So Are We. Hands down my favorite Mitski record so far. Sonically, her most tasteful, gorgeous, and cinematic, and with the songwriting and her performances, she's really taking a lot of chances on here and absolutely killing it in the process. This record was definitely an emotional one as well, definitely very just potent in terms of how much it really got me in my feels this year. And yeah, Mitski did it. She really capitalized on her truest potential on this album, and yeah, I eagerly await whatever powerful, beautiful record she does after this. Number 3 is the absolutely insane new record from 100 gecs, 10,000 gecs. I mean, this album, you thought their debut and their older stuff was some of the most batshit and unhinged pop music like ever recorded. They pretty much multiplied that by 10 on this record with fantastic songwriting, hooks that still remain stuck in my head, just a really great energy. Love the way that they kind of cover these different bases of rock on here. There's like a ska song there. There's also like a bit of a nu metal satire there, and lyrically, they're talking about everything from like salty snacks to frogs on the floor. There's even a bit of a scary movie nod on one track. Like, yeah, they're all over the place on this record, and yet somehow it manages to be also very just complete and cohesive as well. Like, definitely the most complete and cohesive thing gecs have ever put out. And yeah, it just further solidifies my love of them as well. So there you go. Long live gecs. And yet somehow there's at least one other album in similar territory that I think is a little bit better. Number 2, Underscores, Wall Socket. Like, the genre blendings, the storytelling, and the emotions as well on this record, I think they very much took a huge step up from their debut on all fronts, in terms of just the songs and the concept, and just all the general ideas, and the writing is genuinely. This is genuinely one of the best written glitch and hyperpop records I've heard, period, and that's saying a lot. And combining that with just the creativity and how this record just feels so unpredictable. You never know where the songs are gonna go. Yeah, this is an album that only got better and just left me more in awe with each listen. And now we're here, ladies and gentlemen, my number 1 album of the year, Boy Genius, The Record. If you follow me on any of my platforms, you've probably already heard me spill a lot of guts about Boy Genius and this album, and there's a good reason for that. I really feel that this album is such a major achievement for Phoebe Bridgers, Lucy Dacus, and Julian Baker from the writing, their vocal performances, the production, the flow, the cohesion of the project as well, the emotions too. I definitely had huge, high expectations for this album, and they were pretty much all met, and even with the other 49 albums that I've talked about in this video being so great, there's no doubt that this is the one album that, more than any other, just, emotionally impacted me and left me in awe and just left me hungry for what the future holds for all 3 of its members, more than anything else that came out this year. This is an album that's just consistently been with me through all the biggest highs and lows of 2023, and believe me, they've been pretty intense this year. So yeah, this is definitely one of those cases where it could only be this album as my number 1 because of how much it impacted me, and it definitely it ruled my 2024 both musically and, yes, personally as well. There you have it. Those are my top 50 albums of 2023. Thank you all for watching. Hope you got some good recommendations out of this video. Check out any albums on this list that you haven't, because in my opinion, all these 50 albums are great. They're awesome. They're just fantastic works of art. Feel free to share with me some of your favorite albums this year in the comments. Truly one of the better years of this decade for music, in my opinion. And yeah, I think that's about all I gotta say. This is Joshua Kirk, signing off.